this Ramadan.
Well, the time is just gone 10 minutes past 4 p.m. on the 7th of Ramadan, the 18th of March. And we're going across to take a look at our local stories this afternoon. And that is the closure of Jacob Zuma's bank accounts by First National Bank. This has sparked concerns over the timing. And one of them being Black First, Land First President Andile Mngxitama. Andile, good afternoon to you and welcome to the show.
Yes, good afternoon to you and to your listeners.
Andile, can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon to you and to your listeners.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us, Andile. And we know from now until the elections take place, a lot is going to happen. But yesterday, in fact, we heard about today, actually, about FNB saying that it was complying with a specific order by the High Court in the KwaZulu-Natal division, closing the former President Jacob Zuma's bank accounts. What do you make of that, Andile?
No, this is a clear political attack. White monopoly capital, which is the primary enemies of President Zuma, because of his radical economic transformation agenda, are weaponizing the economic muscle through closing bank accounts of people they consider their opponents, people who are undesirable politically for them. The same people are giving money to political parties to contest the elections, but they are using, as we say, the economic leverage they have to weaponizing the banking system for political ends. This is nothing but a political attack on President Zuma.
Now, it is clear that, right across the board, of this, and as I mentioned, a lot from now until the elections, and we've seen even political leaders questioning the timing by FNB to close this bank account. And again, when we look at, you mentioned white monopoly capital as well, that some of these banks have actually been involved in closing. It happened even with the media magnate, Dr. Iqbal Sur, as well. Well, how does this actually, in the build-up to the elections, what does this mean for political parties? And
what we learned from this is the fact that white capital is actively involved in South African politics. It wants to control them. It wants to determine who goes to parliament. And it is all out as an activist capitalist class who are directly meddling in politics. It is not enough that they control our politics through money, but now they are also using whatever other leverages they have, such as their ownership of the banking system, to attack and to make sure that their opponents do not go to parliament. These are highly sensitive elections because the ANC of Ramaphosa is likely to lose power, and there is a possibility of reconfiguration of a more leftist political coalition in parliament, which challenge the status quo in ways that have not been seen before. So white capital is terrified. They are overreacting. This is a clear sign that they are terrified of the possibility that MK will take a big part of South African votes, and this will redirect politics of the country.
Well, it is. In fact, I know many are actually saying that this is going to be one of the most critical elections that this country will be having, and will change the political landscape of the country to a large extent. But again, one of the most critical issues is looking at the ANC, for example, and we know in KwaZulu-Natal in particular, because this is going to be one of the hottest contested provinces, especially with MK in the picture. Just in your analysis, and you mentioned nationwide as well, and looking at Jacob Zuma making his reappearance into the political landscape, what does this actually mean, for the country as a whole? Because we know he is likely to make an impact in KwaZulu-Natal, but what about some of the areas around the country?
MK will certainly make a huge impact in KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng. Now, we must remember that 40% of the total national votes come from those two provinces. And if you do well in both provinces, that has serious implications for the national vote. So MK is very strong in Gauteng, is very strong in KwaZulu-Natal. It's also fairly strong in Mpumalanga. And we believe also in Northwest and Limpopo, MK is going to do very well. So what is clear is that the ANC is going to get less than 50%. Therefore, it will not be able to form a government on its own. The options open to the ANC is that it will have to join hands with the left forces such as MK, or it will join forces with the right wing. The right wing in the DA has already said Ramaphosa's presidency is acceptable to them. And they know that Ramaphosa, of course, served the same agenda as the DA. So we are likely to see a Democratic Alliance and an ANC government post the elections, which will be a right-wing consolidation of our political reality. But that will be the end of the ANC. It will not see the same amount of votes in the 2029 elections. So it is in a very tight corner. It's either it turns left and it works with parties such as MK, which are going to insist on a radical economic transformation agenda, or it goes right-wing and it consolidates with the DA and sustain the current political and economic order, which excludes the black majority. Those are the options open to the ANC. It's in a very tight corner. It can no longer rule on its own. It has lost the national vote, basically.
Andile, I would like to just engage a bit more with you, but before that, I need to pay some bills, so I'm going to go for an air break. We'll put you on hold, and we'll be back.
Okay.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
From samosas and half moons to cook sisters and roti, everything between iftar and sehri makes sunfoil cooking oil an essential part of your Ramadan. Approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a healthy diet, this blessed month, give your family the best with sunfoil, because tradition just tastes better.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Albeit Lodge, your true home away from home. Albeit is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Albeit has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albeitlodge.co.za.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Food with love. Zakat makes it possible to establish the things that matter. It sets the foundation right for the family around the dinner table, the mothers who carry the heavy load, the children who want to play. Zakat is not just money. It is the reason why so many across the world are smiling before they sleep. Your zakat helps us continue to serve with love, with hope, because with you, we can. Give your zakat to Penny Appeal South Africa today. www.pennyappeal.org.za. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Fulfill your zakat conveniently with Ashraful Aid. This Ramadan, let's make your zakat count. Ashraful Aid's zakat distribution is carefully overseen by external boards which ensure its transparency and trust. Make a difference to those who really need it. Join us today to spread hope and compassion to those who need it most. Visit our website at www.ashrafulaid.org.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
We'll continue with the broadcast this afternoon right here on the Iftar Drive on the 7th day of Ramadan. The time is just gone 23 minutes past 6 as we continue our discussion this afternoon, kicking off talking about Jacob Zuma and his bank accounts having been closed by FNB. And to unpack all of this, we are in the company of Andile Mngxitama, who is the president of Black First Land First. Andile, welcome back. And just to continue, I've got a question that's come up on the screen, and it's a comment saying that BLF will be voting with the MK party, but also to ask you, why have you decided to collaborate with Jacob Zuma's MK party?
Yes, Black First Land First has been one of the biggest supporters of Jacob Zuma. In 2015, we started a campaign, Hands Off Zuma, Economic Liberation Now. You must remember, you'd remember that it was a time when right-wing and some so-called left-wing political parties and civil society was mobilized to say Zuma must go. And we said, no, hands off Zuma. So we understand this political project of radical economic transformation. We support it. We believe it's the best thing that can happen to us. And President Zuma is a huge figure in our society. And that agenda becomes mobilized around him. And that is why Black First Land First threw its weight with President Zuma. We are on the same side of the political divide. Ideologically, we are in agreement. We believe that South Africa must be transformed and economy must be returned to the people, land must be redistributed. And those are the key tenets of radical economic transformation, which when President Zuma was pressing hard on them, white capital got a massive fright. That is why white capital mobilized that 1 billion rand to support Cyril Ramaphosa so that he can buy that conference of the ANC to become president. It is part of the ongoing battle, including this closure of his bank account, shows that those supporters of Cyril Ramaphosa are terrified of President Zuma coming back into the political scene to push radical economic transformation. We have to use one big weapon we have as black people, and that is our numerical strength. White capital is sponsoring fragmentation of black political voice. Multiple political parties are being created so that we don't consolidate our big weapon, which is our numerical strength. And Black First Land First understands this, and that's why we are joining hands with President Zuma with the attempt to consolidate our black voice to make sure that we can use political power to change the lives of our people.
Yes. Now, just coming back to this whole question surrounding FNB, Andile, and I've seen a number of comments come through, and one that came from the African People's Convention, their leader Themba Gowdy, spoke about banks that have enormous power, and this could render the democratic project meaningless, according to Themba Gowdy. And he's saying again, looking at how these banks expose themselves by playing a political game, and the power that banks have in our country, which is enormous, which means our democratic process is rendered almost meaningless. Just your comment?
No, the point is that white capital owns the means of production in this country, including banks. And white capital is going to fight whoever is a threat to its hegemony. So white capital is highly active in our politics. And the emergence of Umkhonto Sizwe opens a front of battle against white monopoly capital. And we are all mobilized around the person of President Zuma. That is why they're shutting down his bank account. That is to immobilize him. By the way, my bank account also was closed by FNB for the same reasons, for the same political reasons that I support President Zuma. And many other progressive black leaders have their bank accounts shut down by FNB, because FNB is a very activist bank in the interest of white capital. It enters the political scene, it helps the side of white capital, and it fights those that are seen as enemies of white monopoly capital. And President Zuma is seen as the figurehead of the battle against white monopoly capital, and that is why FNB has shut down his account. It is part of the war, it's part of the battle. We understand very well.
Andile, in your analysis, how is this likely to impact on the former president himself with the closure of his bank accounts and his political ambitions in the short term from now till the elections? Is this likely to impact on him? Well,
President Zuma is a survivor. He certainly will find a way around this. We know that he's a chess player. He must have already anticipated that the banks are going to behave in this manner. We are not only looking at the banks. There is an alliance between the banks, even with the ANC, to try to exclude Umkhonto Sizwe from the elections. So we see this as part of a massive counter-attack on Umkhonto Sizwe, including, the fact that Umkhonto Sizwe is in court defending the right to hold the name Umkhonto Sizwe, as the ANC is trying to get us deregistered to participate in the elections. There is a big, big battle against Umkhonto Sizwe precisely because Umkhonto Sizwe threatens to mobilize society towards a radical agenda which will affect the interests of white capital very negatively. So this is part of the war. We expected it, and there are many more other counter-attacks which are going to happen, including trying to criminalize leadership around the President Zuma. We are going to see actions of the NPA being heightened in an attempt to criminalize and exclude people from pushing the agenda of Umkhonto weSizwe. It is a full-on war to try to stop the tsunami, which is Umkhonto weSizwe.
Yes, and just finally, I know you mentioned white monopoly capital and the support for various political parties. Now, we've seen a few new kids on the block, new political parties that don't have a track record. Some of the leaders don't have a track record, but we've seen millions that have already been invested in these political parties that are relatively new. And if I look at some of the political parties, if I look at Rise Mzansi, for instance, without a proven track record, but just out of the blue, where we see individuals committing millions to these political parties. What could be some of the thinking behind investing in political parties like these, Andile?
Yeah, it is really shocking that Rise Mzansi got 15 million rand from the granddaughter of the Oppenheimers. Now, that's very indicative of how white monopoly capital is trying to control and divide the black vote. They are sponsoring these new political formations with one objective in mind: to fracture the black vote, to weaken the black vote, so that black people are unable to exercise the one weapon we have, which is our numerical strength. They are fragmenting that strength. They are sponsoring all these reactionary political formations so that our black voice is weakened. That is the strategy of white capital. Just like the apartheid regime created the homeland system to divide black people, to divide and rule, they are now again dividing us and ruling us through the sponsoring of these political formations, including, of course, sponsoring the ANC leader to make sure that a right-wing agenda is sustained in the country. However, they are up against a serious revival of a left radical force, as we see in the emergence of Umkhonto weSizwe. So the battle is on for the soul of South Africa, for economic transformation, economic liberation, economic access of the majority. But those who hold our land and the economy are also putting up a big battle. That is why they are using their money to try to dilute the black voice in terms of our political representation.
Well, Andile, thank you very much for that. And I'm sure in the build up to the elections, we will engage a lot more with you as we move towards the 29th of May. But for now, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out with us this afternoon, right here on Salam Media.
Thank you, and happy Ramadan.
Thank you. Andile Mngxitama with us this afternoon. Black First, Land First against the decision by FNB saying that it acted according to the High Court's instructions, the closure of Jacob Zuma's bank accounts months before the elections. We're going to go for a break. We'll be back.